Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Race Rivalz show. Clint and Geoffrey here with Adam Ross. We got a couple of special guests coming on. We're gonna have some fun tonight, Adam. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready for the fight because I know there's going to be one. Clinton, you and I couldn't help but fight for the last couple of days talking racing. And the nice thing is we both sit here and smile while we're fighting, which there's nothing that brings me more pleasure than when I'm arguing with someone with a big smile on my face because I'm enjoying it and they're enjoying it as well.
The only thing that made me angry about your stupid attitude over this whole situation is that we weren't on the air right then to fight because we were pumped up, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good, and it doesn't quite come off as well on the air as it does when we're really fighting in our personal life. And we need cameras around
because
you jump on at any point.
You always hold back. You don't let it fly, and you need to let it fly. You're going to need to grow a set and make your argument and try to beat me.
Well, I got my argument, and I don't have to try. But either way, we're going to talk about the finish of some of the action going down in Pensacola, Florida last weekend. We're going to have Caden Lapcevich back on the program with us. He was a participant there weekend. He was with us a couple weeks ago as we talked about him setting up for the Snowflake Derby this past weekend, and we'll discuss that. We've also got some other things going on around the Ontario scene. And before we go any further, let's jump right into topic number one, the Glenn Stires Racing Charity Auction. It ends tonight at 9 p.m., so you got less than an hour now to get on to Facebook and look up Glenn Stires Racing page. So, Spencer, throw that up if you can. And this is the Glenn Stires Racing page on Facebook. Go there, scroll down, and you'll find the auction page. And all these amazing items are up for auction. There it is. That's the Glenn Stires Racing page. Throw that back up for a second, Spencer, if you can, so we can help them find it. That's the page you're looking for on Facebook right now. And how it works, just hold on to that for a second, Spence. How it works is you go on there, you make a comment about what your bid is, and then they'll collect it later. So you don't need your credit card or anything right now. You're basically commenting your bid. So far, they've raised over $5,000 for underprivileged kids and for Christmas gifts. And now let's get into what the auction actually is. Racers and teams have donated all kinds of cool parts, so just hold on that, Spencer. In the upper corner there, you see a wheel, autographed wheel that Freddie Carlton bent in a wreck, and he's donated that to the auction. You got a door off Matt Williamson side panel. We got some gift cards there. You got a G-Force prize pack. We've also got a Honda generator that's up for grabs. And scroll through a few more of them, Spencer. So a lot of them are wrecked race car parts that the teams have donated. There's a great power washer there, a maximum oil set, some nose wings off some cars. So all kinds of great stuff for your man cave. You can get great bids in there for anywhere as low as 20, 30, 40 bucks for some of these parts that are out there. And there's some amazing prizes. So it's a great thing to go on. If you get a chance, go on there right now before 9 o'clock while you're watching us and check it out. It's the Glenn Stires Racing Auction. If your bid is won, Kevin will reach out to you and you can pick it up. But Adam, how cool is that? Over $5,000 raised again this year for underprivileged kids. And the Stires Race team, they go out Christmas shopping like a bunch of big kids. They buy truckloads of toys and distribute them to some needy kids. I think it's awesome.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Glenn's heart's always been in the right place, and so is the entire racing family. But when there's someone leading that charge and everyone can kind of gravitate to it and do great things together, it really does make me proud of the racing family, Clint.
You know, right there, you're looking at a wing off Corey Turner's nose wing and a T-shirt. There's a side panel off Clint Nichols' Thunderstock from this year. So some cool stuff for your garage, your shop. There's a Dirt Track Nation prize pack from our buddy Greg. And, it's going to be awesome. So get on there, check it out. Make your final bids tonight in the next hour. And good luck to everybody who goes out and gets that done. And I want to send a big shout out to Kevin Miller, Nitro Man. He's a photographer in the Niagara region at Merrittville and Humberstone. He's the big spearhead behind all this for Glenn. And Kevin's put this together year after year, and I know it's a lot of work. And we all appreciate it. Kevin, great job for all the charities you guys are going to help this year with the Glenn Stires Racing Auction. So that's a super cool deal. Adam, that brings us to topic number 2. What's going on lately here in Ontario? Well, Adam, you and I have been in a lot of meetings. There's a lot going on here in Ontario right now.
There is. There's a lot going on that it's worth getting excited over, Clinton, but there's nothing to release just yet.
I think you're right. The point of this topic was just to let all the racers know that there is a lot going on. And, with the craziness of the COVID year, All the promoters we talked to, and you and I have sat in on multiple meetings, whether it be the ODCC here on the dirt. We had the 5 dirt tracks yesterday. We had a conference call with them. Then you and I were at the APC meeting. We know there's super stock meetings going on. It's amazing that all the tracks are working together, and I think it's very positive that knowing what we know about the virus and our situation here in Ontario and in Canada right now, and the situation with the border, which plays a lot on a lot of these divisions that we touch, is that there is a plan A and a plan B being worked out in almost every case we've touched it, and that's a great thing, that the racers can continue to build their cars, the fans can continue to get excited, sponsors know they can continue to support what we're trying to build here, because there is a great future, whether we are still locked down for a bit further. Just your thoughts on that. I think it's really good, and it's positive news. And like you said, there isn't anything solid to announce, but there's going to be some amazing things to announce very shortly.
Yeah, there's some awesome cooperation. I actually thought when you said what's going on lately, we were leading into our guest. Was that beeper in my house or your house?
No, it's my alarm at my house. The other thing I want to mention is we've been following the Ontario tracks and all the tracks getting together. Over 15 tracks now banded together. They're going to pay for the industry study to approach the government. And as we mentioned, it will help all of us with our marketing plans and demographics and everything like that. So that is super exciting, and lots of great news going on. So that's your news for the week anyways. Now it's time to do some fighting and get into some gossip, I think, as we get ready to bring in Caden Lapcevich in a minute or so. But Adam, the Snowflake Derby was down in Florida this past weekend, and brought some controversy, as always, and some wild action too. So, do we bring Caden in? Do you want to have our fight first, or how do you want to work?
Let's bring Caden in, because I was so pleased for him. I was so proud of him. To qualify for that race is a big deal. When Bubba Pollard has to get in on a provisional, when guys like Chase Elliott are relegated to the Consi, and Caden Lapcevich went out and laid down some serious laps, got himself solidly into the show to race. Let's bring him on. Caden, awesome to see you, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. Are you still on cloud 9? Like, were you pretty pumped up from that weekend?
I mean, it was a long week. It was a surreal feeling, I guess, to say the least. I never thought I'd be down at the Snowball Derby, but Bob gave me an awesome opportunity, and I can't thank him enough. But I'm still trying to sort of go over what the whole week was and take it all in, and just learn and see what we can do better next time.
Caden, crazy weekend. Just talk about the atmosphere down there. Around here, things were kind of locked down for what seems like forever. How are crowds down there for us race fans? Was it a good old-fashioned race weekend, or was things under serious lockdown? Any strange procedures or new things you guys had to deal with there, being in Florida?
It really honestly seemed like a normal race weekend to me. It just sort of like it was last year. The stands were packed. Tim Bryant did a real good job making the best of a tough situation. I would say the least. He packed the stands as good as he could, and he had the infield packed too. And it was awesome to be racing in front of a good crowd. There was a lot of hype going into this event, and the crowd really made it awesome to be in front of.
And I mean, the live crowd, the crowd watching on pay-per-view. Let's talk about the race itself, Caden. And talk to our viewers. This is going to be a 2-part question, Clinton. So first, Caden, talk about how the whole week is basically 2 events. The first event is getting into the show, and then talk about the show itself. Like, can people really understand how big a deal qualifying for that race is?
I mean, until you sit through that, I don't know, what was it, an hour and a half or 2 hours of qualifying, you really don't know how big of a deal it is. I've been telling everybody, it was the most stressful couple hours of my life. And we rolled out late, and I couldn't imagine having to sit through there and wait if we went out early. So going out when we did, honestly, I think benefited us, just because how the weather hit, and the dew came early. Cars were on track, and then the dew sort of went away. So we got a dry track, a warm track. All the cards sort of fell into my favor, and I probably should have laid down a better qualifying lap than I did, but there was a lot of nerves going into that, and then so the hard part is making the show, especially this year. The talent and the field that was there was so big. There was a lot of big names there, and it was probably the most experienced field I'd ever been a part of. And a lot of people are saying it's the most experienced slash talented field they'd ever seen in the snowball derby. So to make the race was the hard part. That was the part that I was most worried about. And then, after that, it was sort of easy going. We practiced again once on Saturday, did race runs, and then we did the race on Sunday. And to be honest, that was the easy stuff. Getting ready to qualify and be in the show was the hard stuff.
So the second part of that question, you're a champion, Caden. You're a race winner. You're used to being at the front of the field. An event like this forces you to be humble because everyone in that race damn near is a champion. You almost stayed on the lead lap. It seemed like you could, for 70 laps on a green flag run, you were good to stay on the lead lap. Unfortunately, the runs were 75 laps. Are you still pleased with the day? You stayed out of trouble. You brought the car home in one piece. You did get lapped a couple of times in circumstances. So as you load the car up at the end of the day, do you get satisfaction from that? Or are you frustrated and thinking, I need to come back here again to improve?
I mean, you guys know me as well as anybody else. I go out there, and anytime I go to the racetrack, I expect to run good and be in contention to win. But we unloaded and we were kind of off all week. We never really had the best pace that we needed, and then it wasn't until about Saturday, just after final practice, my brother Trayton, he was showing me a video of the left front, and he just goes, it looks weird. It doesn't look right. So we got an inspect on the left front, and I thought I'd seen something that was wrong. So I went down and I asked Cody Glick, who's the general manager here at Rowdy, if it was right or wrong, and sure enough, it was wrong. So, we had kind of been adjusting all week to an issue that we had been chasing. So then after, we found that we fixed it, made it right, went back on scales, reset our heights, caster, camber, angles in the rear. So when we unloaded Sunday morning, I really didn't know what we had. I was kind of going in blind. But we made the best of it. We fired off real good. We were probably one of the quicker cars for the first 30 to 40 laps of a run. But starting sort of where we did, we kind of had to just fight all day. And we never really got the track position we needed. We didn't really need those long 75 lap runs, kind of like you said. If the runs would have been 60 or 65 laps, we probably could have stayed on the lead lap all day. But it's what happens. It was a different snowball derby than kind of what I expected, especially from watching in the past. But it's like I said, we made the most of it, learned a lot, and I know we need to be better prepared next time we go, and I need to do a better job in the shop looking over things.
Cade, when you get to Sunday morning and you're going into a car that's untested like that, but you've been off all week, where's the balance in your mindset? Are you excited and know you should have a better car, or is it nervous that you're going with an untested piece, like you said, into a race that it's really unforgiving too? That's the other thing. The track there, we watched your in-car got shipped back, and man, that place, it doesn't look like you ever get to rest.
No, and I was real cautious of making my decision of whether I wanted to make the situation we were fighting right and sort of restart all over again, or just roll with it. So, but I talked with Bob, I talked to my dad, I talked with Cody, I talked with a lot of people, and everybody said, make the issue right and restart. It's going to be better for you. And so, I do think it was better that we made the change and made it right. I felt the car drove the best it had all weekend in the race, but it was from a lack of practice with that certain setup that we had in there on Sunday. So I was nervous doing it. I didn't really know what to expect, but Cody told me he said trust me, it's gonna be fine. You'll be all right. It all comes down to track position, and at the end of the day, if I would have qualified a bit better, we probably would have been able to stay in the lead lap and contend for maybe a top 10. We weren't the best, but we were decent. We needed to obviously practice all week with that setup in and be able to tune on it.
Caden, okay, I want to get to the Snowflake. So let's be done this. Congratulations. You had a lot of
Thank
people
you.
following you, and you made a lot of people really proud. So congratulations for that. Let's talk turkey here. Let's talk about the Snowflake. And before we watch this clip, Spencer, Caden, you have to get a feel for an event. Like, you have to know what is allowed. Does anything go? Do they talk to you in the driver's meeting about conduct they expect? Like, what are the expectations from the officials that they tell you at a driver's meeting? And what's the sense you get just from being around people who have been in them on what's okay and what's not okay?
Well, so you put me in a tough situation here because there's been times I've been in drivers meetings where it goes, last lap, anything goes, or it's, last lap, don't ruin both y'all's races, or there's things that happen like that they did on Saturday, which is, something I've personally done, and I didn't see an issue with it. So I guess it just depends. You go to different races with different race directors, different people running the show, and they see things different than the previous tour or series or racetrack you raced at. So I mean, you got to be able to adapt and know what's right and know what's wrong in the series or group of people that you're racing with that weekend.
So in your estimation, if you were driving the 51 car on the last lap, does Caden Lapcevich execute a similar maneuver?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say no. I've done it before, so I wouldn't have done anything different. You're racing for a Snowflake, the biggest pro late model race of the year, right? So you hate to try and do it right and lose by 4 feet, or you lay in bed at night and think, man, I didn't even try. So you put it all out on the line, and I hate to see what happened to Steven. And it's not just because he's a rowdy customer, and I like to see the rowdy cars win, but I personally feel they made it seem a lot worse than what he did. We were all standing in turns 3 and 4 on top of a trailer, and he drove it in, and then Bubba drove it in deeper and parked it in the center, and Steven just got to his bumper. So it's part of it. He took his chance, and it worked for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then they overturned the call. So I hate to see it, but I really can't say I would have done anything different.
Clint,
well,
take
before
it
we
away.
go any further, Adam, let's watch it. This is our Burger Barn video of the week. So, Adam, maybe you want to set up, for those who don't know, and I don't want to get it wrong, this was the Saturday night race before the big race on Sunday. And these are late models? Fill me in on what's the actual class?
The Snowflake. So the Snowflake 100 is the pro late model. So the same as what we would run up here at the Canadian Short Track Nationals, similar to an APC late model. The Sunday, the big show, is super late models. So this is the pro lates that most of our audience would be used to watching. And 2 of the hot shoes that have a history together. But at that point, Clint, everyone has a history. Like, these guys are all big names. So let's watch this. And I've been dominating a bit of conversation because I wanted to, because I want you to watch this and I want you to give it your best shot, Clinton. I'm gonna blow you up. Like, over. So I want you to take your best swing.
Well, I see you bring Caden on, and he's on your side of the argument, so I call bullshit on that right off the top. But
I don't need Caden.
I'm all right. I'll fight my battles. It's all right. So this is our Burger Barn video of the week. This is the finish from Saturday night, Pensacola, Florida, the Pro Late Model finish. When two of the best go at it, Bubba Pollard and Stephen Nasse, coming down to the end of the race, last lap. Here it is. You make the call.
Through turn 2, Pollard is enough ahead of Nasse. Nasse will have to do it here in turn 3. Here they go down into turn number 3. Jimmy puts the bumper to Pollard. Pollard gets sideways. He is about to take Nasse with him, but he can't do it. Nasse will streak away to the victory as Pollard tries to save his car from the inside wall.
Play it again, Spencer. One more time. Pay attention at the end, folks.
Through turn 2, Pollard is enough ahead of Nasse. Nasse will have to do it here in turn 3. Here they go down into turn number 3. Jimmy puts the bumper to Pollard. Pollard gets sideways. He is about to take Nasse with him, but he can't do it. Nasse will streak away to the victory as Pollard tries to save his car from the inside wall.
Now, our argument began with you saying that Nasse wasn't the reason he spun it, and that's what got me later.
Nasse did not spin Bubba Pollard. Bubba Pollard spun Bubba. Nasse moved Bubba Pollard. So Caden, I want you. We're going to ask you your opinion after Clinton and I fight, because I don't want him to feel like this is too on. And you and I haven't talked about this. Nasse went into the turn. So Clinton, you can't put yourself in the head of a driver and say this is what they meant to do. But having seen enough races, I believe Bubba Pollard tried to get that car down. Now, Bubba Pollard did not get through 1 and 2 very well. Stephen Nasse cut a beautiful corner in 1 and 2, closed in a lot of gap. Going into 3 and 4, if you're Bubba Pollard, you want to get that car to the center of the turn in as much control as you can. You've got to drive it in deep, but you got to get that car to squat down. So when you get hit, because you're going to get hit, you're just able to drive away. Okay? If you're Stephen Nasse, you got to be close enough because you still have to control your car. You still have to make that turn. So Nasse did his job in 1 and 2 to get close enough in 3 and 4 to chase Bubba down to the corner. He jacked him up and moved Bubba Pollard up 1 lane. 1 lane, and drove to the inside. It is my opinion, Clinton, that at this point, Bubba Pollard's got 2 chances. One of them is to get that car rotated, even if it means half spinning it out, get down into the right front of Nasse and bounce to the line, similar to what Brandon Watson and Joe Lawrence did at Sunset Speedway. He's got to make contact because that's the only way he ruins Nasse's momentum and he has any chance. In my thought process, the other thing he might want to do is take Nasse out because he's already lost the race, so don't go alone. Make sure you go with that 51 car. And he failed on both counts. He failed on both counts and spun to the inside of the racetrack. That's my contention. Nasse moved him, but everything that happened after Bubba went up 1 lane was all Bubba Pollard.
I'll give you that, but here's my argument. You shouldn't be getting into anybody on counter entry ever. Now, if you're going to ram me going in, you're not fast enough to pass me. Whether I park it in the middle like Caden said or not, in every race I was ever brought up around, you have to pass the leader clean to get your spot. In my opinion, this is the biggest dig with pavement racing from the very first NASCAR Pinty's race I ever called with you, when someone got dumped coming out of 4. You couldn't catch him all night, and you're going to throw a dirty shit-ass move on the final lap to knock him up. And even if the bump and run was clean, it doesn't have any place in racing. I mean, if you're on the other end of that and you get rammed out of the way when a guy hasn't got you. Now, if you're coming off of 4 and we're back to the accelerator and I'm in your way, you can spin me all you want, I think. But anybody can throw a dirty video game move like that. And I'm not saying taking anything away from Stephen Nasse. Obviously one of the best. But come on, man. He couldn't pass him all race, so he dumps him going into 4. Now you had your time to talk. Let me have mine.
That's right.
So
that's right.
He gets him, he pushes him up out of the way. And now your intention is that Pollard intentionally spun out because he couldn't get back to it. If Nasse didn't hit him, Pollard doesn't spin out. If Nasse doesn't take the dirty move and ram him up out of the way, then Pollard wins that race. And it's at no point, and this is me coming from a manager side or, as a guy who runs a speedway. At no point in time, we saw this in the sprint car world too, where it was a questionable call between Kruger and Westbrook. But at no point should anybody be able to smash a leader out of the way and win that race. Race them clean, man. And like I said to you on an argument on the weekend, if Nasty doesn't hit Pollard, we're not even having this discussion.
And should everyone get a trophy at the end of your race, Clint?
No, that has nothing to do with the discussion.
Here's been my contention for a long time.
If a bump and run is how you need to win a race, you shouldn't win the race. Simple as that. And the other thing, Five Flag Speedway and the Snowball Derby has everything locked down so tight. If you can't get away with anything in tech, what the hell makes you think you're going to get away with it on the Speedway? Come on.
See, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. The reason that I feel racing doesn't have the same luster that it once did at the top levels is because nobody has to win to make a good living. The reason Dale Earnhardt is the reason everyone loves Dale Earnhardt is because he would win at all costs. Because in the beginning he had to win so he could put food on the family's table. Not
everybody loved Dale Earnhardt. A lot of people hated Dale Earnhardt for that style of race.
That's right. And do they ever miss him? Because now people are very much like you. Oh, don't hit my car. I've got so much money invested. If you're afraid of getting your car bent, leave it on the trailer and go to car shows. It's racing, and people should want to win bad enough that they'll do what they have to do to get that win. He did not wreck Bubba Pollard. He moved Bubba. And Bubba didn't spin on purpose. Bubba, in my opinion, because I'm not in his helmet, was trying to execute the only move he could make to get back at Nasty, and that was to get rubbing and hopefully get the momentum to win. But I want to see people that are that hungry. Clint, we watched Sammy Swindell at the Chili Bowl. Like, he has hit everybody on his way to winning races in Chili Bowl. So don't say it's a pavement thing, because it's not. We've seen people in sprint cars right rear somebody. It's the same maneuver. It shows that they're hungry.
Only in pavement do you get away with spinning someone coming out of four and win that race. Now, you can slam somebody, you can ram them, but if you wreck them coming out of four, and we have this argument all the time. The bump and run in racing is the equivalent of not being able to score in the final minute, so you pick the puck up with your hand and you throw it in the net. It's the biggest crock of shit ever.
Listen, I'll let you take that back. I'll give you 10 seconds to take that back, because it's one of the dumber things you've ever said.
I don't need to take it back out of it.
It's taking matters into your own hand and winning the race.
You know what? What I told you the first race...
Nasty did not spin Bubba Pollard. And I'll let you make one more rebuttal to this, because my contention is Nasty did not spin Bubba Pollard. He moved him. We're going to bring Caden back into the conversation, but not until Clinton, you get to make your final remarks. Because my remark is, it was a short track racing move. He didn't spin the leader. The leader spun himself.
I'll give you as many responses as I need to. Sorry, Caden. But he picked on this all week, so he's got to wait it out. Now, listen. Here's the biggest problem you got with that, Adam. I told you this is the very first Pinty's race we ever called back at Jukasa when it was Cayuga. And I grew up in the hood, and I knew a lot of badass scrappers. And if you want racing to go down like that, I'll bring the toughest crew to town every week. We'll pound everybody out of the way. We'll fight our way out of the pits, and we'll make a mockery of it. It's a bloody joke. And I'll give it to you this weekend. You know, that was a questionable one. Nasty didn't. We've seen a lot worse bump and runs than that. But if you want to play the bump and run game, bring your gang, I'll bring my gang, and we'll fight our way out of the pits every night, and we'll make a mockery of the sport, because that's where it's headed. And it's bullshit. Come on, Caden. If you were on the other side of that, we'll bring Caden back in. If you were on the other side of that, you're going to tell me you wouldn't be pissed if you're in Pollard's shoes, man. He couldn't get to him all race, and now he dumps him going into 3. Come on, man.
Well, okay,
Pollard,
so...
Caden, go ahead. You're on.
So... You know, being at the racetrack and watching this all go down. So Nasty originally had the lead before that last caution come out. And Bubba ended up firing before Nasty did coming to that last restart. So, you know, me being me, it's, you know, if you fire before me and end up getting the lead off a kind of a joke of a restart, I guess, that probably shouldn't have been let slide, you know, I think I have every right at that point to sort of get you back. Like, and it's not like he deliberately meant to spin him. You know, he moved him, and I can't say it's anything different that I would have done. But you know, if I was the guy being moved, for say I'm in Bubba's shoes, I don't think I'm, you know, lighting the rear tires up and trying to take him with me. Like, you know, I'll gather it up and try and race him to the line because, you know, I still have a chance to win. But, you know, there's a lot that goes on before that clip that you guys showed, which was the final lap. So there's Bubba jumping the restart. Then there's, you know, Bubba sort of pulls out. Nasty reels him back in. And, you know, I think if the race was another 5 laps, you might have seen a different ending. I think it could have come down to Nasty getting to him, passing him clean, and we're not having this conversation, kind of like you said. But you know, it's part of short track racing. It's, you know, what a lot of us grew up on, and it's honestly been, I'm not gonna say it's been preached to us, but you know, you go to certain tracks where sometimes you got to use the bumper to move and to get by somebody, and that's just how it is. And you know, we can fight in the pits all we want, but at the end of the day, that doesn't solve what happens on the racetrack. So we'll go to the next race the next week, and we might have the same issue again. So it just,
You know,
it all depends on how you take it.
I'll give you the bump and run too. Like, hey, there are times when a guy is slow and in your way, and you need to do that at certain places. I'll give you that. I just didn't feel that was the time or the place to do it. You know, good fight. My argument with you, Adam, was you said Bubba Pollard spun out on purpose, and my argument was I feel like,
but he did it to
buddy, it's here in
himself.
the chat. It's here in our messages. But my argument was what Caden said. I feel he would have done his best to try and at least gather up and go back for second.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Either
Well,
way,
and I'm
neither
sure
of us
that's
are in
what
the
he
car.
Yeah, that's why I say I try to make it clear that, look, I'm not telling you what the driver's thinking. I'd sooner, like when I announce, I try to tell you what's about to happen if I'm reading things right, and you call the action, because you can't put yourself in the driver's head. But I thought it was really exciting racing. I thought it was a well-executed bump where he only did move on the lane, and he didn't wreck him, because we've seen people get wrecked for the lead, and that wasn't one of those moves, right? So, all in all, it was good for business. I paid a lot of money to watch that week of racing, and I'll tell you this much: I thought I got my money's worth. Sometimes I listen to announcers and think, oh, geez, they're better than this. Like some of them wouldn't form an opinion if their life depended on it, even though you know they can. And I don't understand why they don't do that. But I thought the racing was entertaining. It was compelling. It was a hell of a show. And that comment about fighting afterwards, Clint, I'll hold that trophy all night long with blood running down my face. If you want to come punch me in the face, I'm still going to hold that trophy and say, try to get this next time, you son of a bitch.
You wouldn't last long in my era, buddy. Caden, thanks so much for your time,
I'll win
buddy.
the race.
Thank
We
you guys.
appreciate
I
you being
appreciate
here
it.
and
Yeah,
refereeing
Caden,
our
good
battle
job.
here tonight.
Great breakdown. Like you really did explain that well. And I appreciate you being on for that, because it's not a comfortable place to put a racer to comment on what other people are doing. So you're a good sport.
Thank you. I don't really like voicing my opinion on like in the Facebook comments. So when Adam asked me to kind of do this tonight, I was more than happy to.
We appreciate it, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah. Enjoy yourself down there. We'll be talking again. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Caden. Caden Lapcevich.
One last question. Caden, do we still got you on? Where can we see you, Caden? Where can fans get in touch with you? Where can they follow you, and where will we see you next?
So I'm not really sure what next year holds. You know, it kind of really depends on the funding and all that. But you know, right now I can't thank APC enough for coming on board. Ace Services, AP Race Engines, everybody that's supported me this year. I truly appreciate you all. I had a blast this year in a world where, you know, we thought 2020 couldn't get any worse. 2020 has been the absolute best year of mine. So I can't thank everybody enough. Everybody that tuned in this weekend, sent me messages. I'm overwhelmed. Canadian race fans are the best, and I'll stick by that till the day I die. So I'm not sure what next year holds.
I got another one too for you, Caden. On that note, how did it feel when you saw your dad show up? Because I think you were expecting your brothers to come down, but I think your dad surprised you.
Yeah, so my brothers, I knew my brothers were coming. They wanted to come to Winchester. They wanted to they wanted to be at about every race they could this year. And I think my little brother got to come to one this year, which was early in the year when I first moved down to Indiana. And I haven't seen my family since then, April. So when I knew my brothers were coming, that I got real excited about that. And then when I went to pick up what was supposed to be my two brothers at the airport, and then it ended up being my brother and dad because Trayton had to stay on when I race. I was thrilled. Anytime I can have a family member there, doesn't matter who it is. It makes it a lot easier. I got somebody to lean on and somebody that's there for the advice in person and not through a phone.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
I wanted to ask you that sooner, but Clinton, you got anything?
No, thanks, Caden, for your time, and good luck, man. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving into our next guest, great to have Caden Lapcevich with us, Adam, and we got Stephen Ovens on the line next.
We got Stephen Ovens with us too, another family affair. Clinton, it really did warm my heart. I heard about Jeff surprising Caden by going down there, and you've got to feel the same way. Like if your dad showed up somewhere where you weren't expecting, like it would just mean so much to a young man to have his dad there. Of course, Stephen, his is a brother combination. The Ovens boys do a great job with race production, but racing is such a family affair.
Yeah, I actually got to experience that. My dad did surprise us. Flew in from Halifax to see Mike the last time he raced at Maryville, and that was kind of cool. I knew he was coming, and kind of got to do the same deal to my brother. It was definitely special. Let's bring in the voice of iRacing here on the Blacktop Rivalz series, Stephen Ovens, and also the voice of Land of Legends, Canandaigua, New York. We're here to talk big block modifieds on the iRacing platform. Welcome, Stephen, to the show.
Thanks, boys, for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here. It's amazing that iRacing is going to be running the big blocks. Let's jump into the quick video before we get it, so our viewers know what we're talking about. Spencer, run the latest promo for the iRacing big blocks. Well, for a lot of us, we grew up on the modifieds here in the Northeast, and that's what brought a lot of us together. Before sprint cars were hot in Ontario, they were always with the modifieds here in the Niagara region, and of course, the Northeast has been a stronghold for it. Stephen, you've done a lot of iRacing here, calling the races. You've run some leagues yourself. How big is it for the modified world to finally be recognized here in the iRacing platform as we get set to launch it in the next few hours, I believe it's going to be amazing.
This is honestly, and appropriately enough, we're in the month of December. This is like the night before Christmas. This is like right now is that, night before Christmas feeling. Tomorrow is going to be that the kids wake up at 5:00 in the morning and they sit outside mom and dad's room. Hey, you wake mom and dad up. No, you wake mom and dad up. Like the waiting period tomorrow morning is going to be excruciating, but we know by day's end tomorrow, the big block modifieds, the small block modifieds are going to be on iRacing, which is something that we have been waiting for. And it's almost, I won't say redemption, but it's almost validation for our sport. I thought a lot about it this evening about, the impact and it's not just another car that's being added to the platform on iRacing. It truly is validation for our level of the sport. I mean, we've had sprint cars, we've had late models. I mean, just about any form of motorsports than maybe boat racing and drag racing has their form of sport on iRacing, and now to have the big block modifieds, yeah, honestly, I think it's going to do a lot of good for our racing community, who in the past year has been through so much. I mean, yes, iRacing and modifieds are not going to be replacing, the fact that we haven't had fans at the racetrack this past year, but this is something we can put in the positive column in 2020, and I know there's a lot of people that can't wait for tomorrow.
You answered about every question I was about to ask you with that monologue there, Stephen. But I think it's because you hit the key points. Validation for one, but how powerful is this as even a marketing tool to introduce your kind of racing to a generation or to a market that hasn't been to the racetrack, that hasn't been to Canandaigua or Weed Sport or Rolling Wheels, which has been closed for a number of years now. This lets you take the product right into people's homes. And that's got to be exciting for you guys as announcers and for people that promote events.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very, very good point. And to be honest with you, that we're going to try and take full advantage of that. When we didn't get to start the race season at the normal time that we would have last year, in that March, April, May, where we would normally have some kind of racing activity on the track, we knew we weren't going to have fans, but we expected that we would have some kind of racing event. And when that didn't happen, iRacing was how we filled, how we let the fans scratch that itch, so to say, is, and it wasn't, the thing then was, it wasn't modifieds. It was sprint cars. We did some late models, street stock, just something to fill that void. And that's what a lot of the fans that watch said. Hey, I'm watching from my living room in Kissimmee, Florida. Hey, grandma and grandpa are watching their grandson race from their couch in Arizona. So, that's the experience that we had last year. And now we get to take it to a whole nother level, because the cars that race at our track every Saturday night are now going to be what we're going to be able to put on display for these family members, for these fans. And this is going to be huge. I mean, just the ability to start a league with our premier division at our racetrack and be able to tell people from now for the next 10 weeks, minus a couple for the holidays, every week we're going to be able to showcase for you our product that you see every Saturday night virtually on iRacing. And we've got marketing partners that are already signing on board to be involved with this. I was just running the numbers from last year. I mean, we were seeing video views on Facebook alone in the tens of thousands for a virtual race. For people that are not involved in iRacing, they were saying, are these guys really playing video games and you guys are broadcasting and announcing it on the internet? Is that what's happening right now? And for a lot of our fans in the springtime, they got to see what we've been working with you guys for the last few seasons on with the G-Force leagues and with the Rivalz Blacktop Series. I mean, all of those things people were still just starting to see for the first or second time. And like I said, to bring our premier division to that is incredible. And to what you're saying on the marketing side, I mean, we're already starting to see that, people that got to see the product last year and kind of got excited about it are even more juiced up about it because now they know it's modifieds. And for fans that come to our racetrack, we're going to get a double dose of exposure, and we're going to get these business names and help these marketing partners achieve their goals. This is going to turn it into year round. Like, how crazy is that? I mean, it just takes that value, and that punch that we can deliver is now twofold. So,
Clint, I want you to take that
Steve.
away. How big is that now that you can make it year round?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, we learned that when it got when COVID hit in the spring. I mean, we started running our Friday night excitement events at our weekend as a way to kind of keep the fans involved, and and produce it. But Steven, a couple things I want to touch upon is, for me as a hardened race fan, like, it's got to be exciting. I've seen so much. Like, to get my attention, I'm drawn into watching this religiously. Like, tonight, Blacktop Rivals is at IMS Phoenix, and I'm going to be watching that after my wife goes to bed. I get back on, I end up watching the Rivals race an hour after it plays. I am a fan of these guys. I get to go out and practice with them occasionally through the week, and I'm like, holy crap, I just got passed by Schweikert, or I'm hanging with Senchek. I'm doing okay here. I know these guys. I'm starting to become names. And talking about, go-karting was a stepping stone. iRacing is starting to become a stepping stone. And we saw that with a guy that I first heard his name out of your voice, or first heard his name out of your mouth, and then we watched him run so well, is that Tanner Van Doren. We had him on the show,
Yeah.
12-year-old kid. He's running sprint cars on iRacing, honing his craft, practicing his skills. And people say, well, you can't relate. Well, you've obviously not driven this simulation, because it is very difficult. There's a lot of skills that you can transform and transfer from one to the other. Talk about a kid like Tanner Van Doren, who we saw start as a 12-year-old in iRacing, and now he's winning races at some of the biggest events in the big block and sportsman world in the Northeast right now. It's amazing to see that transformation, that, this is a version of the new go-karts.
It's so funny to hear you say that, because not 48 hours ago, I was in a Discord room with Tanner Van Doren having this exact conversation. We were talking, we were in a Discord group, online chat group amongst other racers, actually. And a lot of people didn't know that Tanner and I, basically have known each other for the last couple of years. And I made sure to point out that, guys, just keep in mind, this young kid who was just the youngest driver to ever win at Eastern States in the Sportsman Modified, I've been announcing his name for 2 years. It may be 2.5 years. I mean, it's incredible to see how this has progressed. I mean, Tanner, in one season, I think one full season now in the Sportsman, I think he started late last year, but this kid who, started seeing his name and announced and heard on the internet a couple years ago is now just won one of the biggest sportsman races in New York State that you can win. And that's where he got started. He was a go-kart racer at Hamlin Speedway where, he was dominant and won track championships. Then he came onto the iRacing scene and, he really honed his craft. And we say this a lot, and I feel like some people probably brush it off as, how can you really hone your craft on iRacing? Well, let me tell you what, this kid came from being a go-kart racer to being on iRacing, and he was a little rough around the edges to start with. Anytime he got in an incident, very apologetic, always owned up to the issue. But as he grew and as he he went from not making it through the B main or the C main to all of a sudden he's challenging guys that are old enough to be his father and grandfather and beating them to make it into the A main from the B main. This kid, actually, I felt bad for him at a certain point because he was getting rivals not through really things on track other than he was starting to beat these guys. Then he started making A mains. He started finishing top 10. And before we know it, this kid is all of a sudden a contender. Then we find out he jumps into sportsman, and I didn't feel like people made a big enough deal about that when he got his sportsman ride because, well, people, hadn't really heard of him. They're like, oh, new young kids joining the ranks. All right, cool. Well, then this kid goes out and wins races at Orange County. He wins Eastern States, and now all of a sudden he's the new Tyler Dipple, guys. Like when Tyler Dipple came up through, that was a buzz racer. That name was a name you knew. Man, this kid was coming right up through the ranks, and look how young he is. Well, guess what? Tanner Van Doren's that new young guy coming up through the ranks, and he got it started in iRacing, and he got it started in the G-Force Racing League. I mean, that is about as cool a story as it gets when we talk about this, virtual racing stuff.
Awesome stuff, Steven. Now, Adam, I want to talk about Blacktop Rivals coming up tonight. Steven, Adam races in the series, but we've had some amazing racing going on there So, first off, all kinds of signups going on. I know you guys have your blacktop or your big block league that you guys got going on. Here on GeForce, you can go to GeForceRL.com and find the GeForce Racing Leagues that Roger runs and sign up for those if you can't get enough of your big block action. There's going to be tons of stuff going on. But this Blacktop Rivalz series that we've been working on for 2 years, it has really developed into a great core of racers. And it's coming up after the broadcast here. You guys go on there just after 9 o'clock. Green flag at 9:10 here, right on GeForce. Talk about some of the action we've seen here on the Blacktop Rivalz League, Steven. It's been amazing.
It really has, and we're starting to get far enough into the season where we're starting to see a lot of parity, which is really kind of cool. To start the year, John Schweikart, who is, when you think of Blacktop Rivalz series and you think of power teams like a comparison to the Cup Series, like a Hendrick, a Roush, a Joe Gibbs race, Schweikart is on one of those power teams. I mean, those guys are contenders week in and week out. He won early. Then Tom Senchek, and this was a cool story because this was a guy, Tom, that last year was a bridesmaid more times than anybody else on series. He never got a chance to get a win. He almost had a win at Auto Club, only to run out of gas. He comes back here in 2020 and rips off 2 feature wins in a row. He'd never won on the series, and he comes out and wins 2 in a row. So he's been having a great season. Jeff Cote, who is in his second season with us here, got his win at Watkins Glen in a very unpredictable race. We've had fuel mileage races. We've had tire strategy races. Trent Ringler now has 2 wins on the series after starting out this season with some scheduling and computer issues. So he wasn't on top of his game at the start of the year. Now he's got 2 wins. And there's this guy you may have heard of, Alex LeBay, who has finished top 5 every single race he's been in this year. Hasn't yet gotten a checkered flag, but man, has he been close. And I think that, Phoenix could be a place where Alex LeBay, breaks through. And then you've got, you've just got a whole host of guys that, this year, if you followed Blacktop Rivalz in the past, there was unlimited tires that you could use on pit road. Something that they put into place this year, which has really changed the game, is you only get 2 sets of tires per race. And at minimum, you're making about 3 pit stops a race. So now you have to make a decision. Adam, when am I going to use those tires? When am I not going to use those tires? And is my pit strategy going to pay off in the end? It's been so much fun. I know last year my tagline for the Blacktop Rivalz series was, I'm a dirt guy at heart, but the Blacktop Rivalz series is my favorite night of announcing of the week. And this year has just taken it to a whole nother level. It's been a ton of fun. And if you haven't checked it out, man, check it out at 9:10 tonight. You won't be disappointed. The races are about an hour and 15 minutes long, and it really gets exciting. And Phoenix is a really, really racy place for these guys to run. So tune in.
I'm going to add this to what you said, Stephen, because we really appreciate the energy that you've brought. And I know talking to Senchak and Schweikart, and they all enjoy hearing you announce their names and call the action. But for racers, guys, the nice thing about our series is we're going to run 110 laps at Phoenix. Everybody who shows up is going to qualify because we haven't exceeded the number of pit stalls that are available. It's great seat time to come out. Drivers that struggle, instead of, now people get angry at times, but instead of shaming someone, the drivers that struggle get so much help the next week in practice, helping them with setups, helping them with driving tips. It's a great, I really enjoy the camaraderie. And Stephen, we know you got to go and get ready for the show tonight. So but before we cut you loose, pick your winner tonight.
Boy, I haven't seen who's registered yet tonight, but if Alex LeBay's in the field tonight, I think he breaks through tonight and gets his first of 2020. He's not been outside of the top 5, and that team has just, even though Schweikart's got 2 wins, they've had their moments where they haven't been on top of their game completely, but the momentum is shifting toward them, and I think tonight could be Alex's night.
Thanks, Steven. Have a great night. We'll be watching for you 9:10 right here on GeForce TV. It's the Rivalz Blacktop
Thanks, boys.
Series.
Appreciate it.
Steven, the voice of that series, and he's done a great job for us, Adam. One more segment to go here, and we're going to talk about holiday break races, Adam. We've got a couple things coming up, so we have one more show next week, and then we're going to be off for 2 weeks. We're gonna put some fun races, but let's hold that discussion for next week and figure out what kind of stuff we can do. One of the segments that grew out of last week, what kind of weekly segment would you like to see, is Show Us Your Racers. So we're going to take a buzz through and look at some of the racers' builds that are going on right now. If you got one, feel free to message us or send Adam or I a message or catch us through our G-Force pages and let us know what you're up to because we'd love to see it. Spencer, roll it. Here's a look at some of the races we'll talk about. This is Dan Price, some of the action he's been doing. That's what the car looked before they tore the body off it. Dan, master fabricator, tore it down to that. And I just love to see these cars get built, Adam. There's some new sheet metal on it as they get it back together. And pink is not the color of the car. That's what it looks like when you pull the pink plastic protection off. And hold that shot for a minute, Spencer. That's a gorgeous-looking car there. Dan does some great work, Adam.
He does so. And what you don't see in a lot of these pictures, Clinton, and in a lot of the races that are put on, and we do our best to bring it to you, you don't see the passion of these racers and how much enjoyment they get out of this sort of thing. Dan Price is one. I'm going to tell you this. I don't want to have Dan on our show. I want to go to Dan next year at a race and get him in his element at the racetrack and do an interview with him. He's just so happy to be there. And I think people would really enjoy that, more so than seeing him sit here like I am on a couch and chat.
Yeah.
Go into his pits and have him talk about his race car, and I think we'd have a blast.
Right on. Next one, Adam. And Spencer, is Show Us Your Racer. This was an old Burbridge family racing chassis that Ryan Hunsinger got his hands on, Adam, and they did a great transformation with this. This is an old, broken sprint car frame that they put back together. And go through the picture, Spencer. So the next picture, this is the engine bay. Now hold it here. So this is going to be a show car for the crate sprints at Brockville. They contracted Ryan Hunsinger to build it. It doesn't have a motor in it. So this is a look at the engine bay, Adam. And if you don't really know what you're looking at, you're looking back at the dash panel there. And these are the header pipes that Ryan's had to manufacture something to hold the headers in place. Go to the next picture, Spencer. So this is Ryan trying to make it look like it's got pipes. And there's the pipes coming out of the side. He's had to fabricate up some sheet metal. But when it all comes together, go to the next one, Spencer. It is beautiful. So there it is. It's a faux car. It doesn't have a motor. And this car is going to be, put around. There it is on display at Thousand Island RV Center to help promote the 602 crates at Brockville. They've done a great job down there. Henry Bohr and the crew contracted Ryan to put this together. It looks great, Adam. Similar to what we have at Oshweekend. We take it around the schools. Lightweight, easy to push. They're going to use it in parades, show cars. Quick thoughts on that? I think it's awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's all great. Great job by Thousand Island RVs, Henry down there, doing a phenomenal job. Again, putting a lot of passion behind his support for crate sprint car racing in Eastern Ontario.
Great job, Ryan Hunsinger, on the build too. And our final one is the Morneau Racing family. Just look at some of the stuff. That's what the car looked like at the final race at Jukasa when we were live on G-Force TV. They stripped it all down and got it back together and roll through the pictures there, Spence. There's what the chassis looked like right before it went into powder coating. They had it come back, powder coated orange, and put it back together. I was shocked how fast the Morneaus got to work at them. They stripped this thing down right away, built it back up, got it sheet metaled and ready to go again. And, looking pretty good as we get through the pictures here. So if you've got us a Show Us Your Racer, there it is, back together on the orange chassis. And these guys are not messing around. They're full forward.
You got that right. There was one late addition to the Show Us Your Racer, and it came with a caption. Spencer, were you able to get that loaded up for us?
I didn't see that one, but
Spencer's going to work on that. I sent it into the chat. The other thing, I had copied a comment from Dave McGrin who said, Clinton, our fight reminded us of the old days with the dual airbags. And it's funny because we were just talking about the McGrins because the McGrin brothers were always a fixture at the racetrack. And now Kevin's son turns 14 years old. I remember when Kevin was 14. Clinton, how old did we get?
Too old. Way too old. Roll the last one you got, Spencer.
And the comment that came along with it, and I'm going to have to go back, sorry, hang on one second, from Mike Staniff. One for the Show Us Your Racer. The 2020 BXR1 is put to bed, enjoying the new popcorn maker and watching race rivals. So we love that. We love that's what you're doing at the shop. You got the TV way up there, and Stephen Ovens proudly on the screen. Man, we love to see that. And Clinton, I enjoy this so much. I enjoy the time we get to spend. You put a lot of effort into what goes on to this show, and Spencer puts a lot of effort into it. But I just love that we're able to hang out and be together.
I love that Spencer is becoming known. I thought it was super cool when some of the kind comments came down about our coverage this summer when people were watching the Snowflake Derby, and they said, "Yeah, Spencer does a great job, and the guys are okay too." I thought, oh, that's the comment of the week right there. It's so true. Thank you, Spencer, for everything you do. Thank you, everybody, for joining with us and participating in our chat. We greatly appreciate it. Quickly, two topics that came up today. The Friday Night Thunder APTN show. I have a segment coming up on that. Dusty DeBoer asked us. We're going to get the producers back. They are coming back to film the second year. I'm going to get my hands on a trailer to show you guys some of the cool stuff that's coming up. That's expected to come out in May of this year nationally across Canada on APTN. And an update on the pinball car next Tuesday night. Thanks for being with us, Adam. Good luck at Phoenix coming up here in the Blacktop Rivals at 9:10. Spencer, once again, you're awesome. We'll see you around, everybody.